Hey, what up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy K-Rob with another video just in time for Game 1 of the World Series, which as of this recording will be tonight. Dodgers Blue Jays, you already know. But before we get to tonight's first pitch for the World Series, we're going to take a look at the long-awaited Thanks NFL Hater's Guide to the 2025 World Series from the one and only Urinating Tree. Football's been making him very, very late, so in turn, we're just now getting the Hater's Guide, but it could not have come, honestly, at a better time. Again, thank you all so much for the support. Like, comment, and especially subscribe and click the bell. Would really appreciate all your support, and tell your friends about what we're doing here on the channel. But let's go ahead and get into this thing. And you know what? Before I do, let's pour one out for the Seattle Mariners and their fan base. Bro, that was so heartbreaking. But, you know, somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose. One day they're going to get there, but tonight ain't it. So let's go ahead and get into this. Appreciate the support. Let's go.
Now this is baseball. Each postseason only has one guarantee: heartbreak. There's been a ton of it so far. Some tragedies far more gut-wrenching than others. I hope you're into tearjerkers. Besides crying, this gauntlet has offered us everything and then some. Greenhorns emerging from farm systems everywhere to play key roles. Tight contests in most series as a whole. And legends and memories that will be remembered for generations to come. Yet on the road there are 10 teams that failed to make it here. Here is what's etched on their epitaphs. It was most unfortunate that only one team could lose this series. If it were up to most of the sports world, both teams would fail. It would come down to who would manage themselves into a blender. That was Alex Cora. Sorry, man, you can't start Garrett Crochet every game. You can't have Aroldis Chapman execute the ultimate troll job each time he's out there. In the end, New York rallied for Game 2. But it's fine, they say. Connor Lee Early will be getting the call. All they need's a chance. There was one problem for the Sox. Cam Schlittler. Or someone else if you want to ask Big Papi.
Ooh.
He steamrolled through that hitting core like prime Mariano Rivera. Unhittable. For one of the rare times in recent history that the Yanks have outstrung Boston, Cam will never have to buy a drink in the Bronx again. Connerly and his defense let him down and was yanked early. The Sox are still a piece or two away from truly making noise. And no, it's not Devers. Might be the injuries to Casas and Anthony, might be the sluggish depth hitting, might be something else. It's still a good season, even if it stings like hell to lose the pinstripes again. Baseball is such a silly sport. A team that has all the momentum in the world against a group they creamed all September at home, and they lose the series to the free-falling Tigers.
Detroit and Cleveland were doing everything in their power to not win the AL Central. Granted, nobody else had a shot, but good lord, the free falls these teams had in the second half were just nonsense.
Guards ball was on full display for the national audience. Results were mostly negative. Mostly because Cleveland's inability to hit with any consistency killed them at every turn. This somehow included Jose Ramirez.
Oh.
For other reasons.
Oh, come on.
Two plans with a chance to tie that'll kill any momentum to speak of. Sewell hitting a whopping 178 with a sub-600 OPS in the series. Detroit didn't do well in the box either. They left 15 men on base in Game 2, but they did enough to win, and that's all that matters. Guardians bullpen implodes in Game 3, and that's that. So they're back in the same boat. Great pitching, but can't get good hitting when it matters, and fate forces them back into the bridesmaid role. Only one truth is certain. God gives Cleveland his toughest battles. Well, at least you allowed us to laugh at the Mets.
Yes, we did get little Mets out of this, but keep in mind the St. Louis Cardinals were only 2 games out of the Reds' wild card spot. But let's be honest, Cardinals fans, speaking as one, would you have wanted to see this 2025 baseball team in the postseason, even for one inning? Couldn't be me. Could not be me. More power to the Reds, though. They got fed to the Dodgers.
Against a real team, one thing became quite obvious. The Reds didn't belong here.
No.
At all. The Bats were like an army of Key Bryants. Non-existent. Silenced, stuffed, crushed, whittled down, whatever adjective you want to use, since he was that in this series. They were the bad LE. That includes the hitless man himself. But even for their blatant flaws, their starting pitching really disappointed me. They got shelled by Dodger bats. And Tito's managerial experience didn't do much better. Big Game 2 and you're starting Zach Littell? Andrew Abbott and Nick Lodolo were sitting right there ready to go, and they were used for a combined 14 pitches? What the fuck are you doing, man? You're trying to win or get down to Cancun early. Tito no longer wins by doing nothing. In fact, his age is more than showing. You went all in for this? Doing everything in their power to beat LA yet falling on the first charge? To a team down their best starters? Get revenge on the Dodgers, you couldn't even get fucking close to them.
Can't get by the
Chorus of
Cubs.
elite hitters and they can't do a damn thing. Repeatedly trolled by elite defense at every turn. That, my friends, is how a window starts to fade. Repeated chances to do something, hell, anything to assert themselves, yet fail at every opportunity. They dress like LA, but imposter syndrome continues to seep in. The team and their fans are gonna blame
The Padres are the West Coast version of the New York Mets. They have little brother syndrome. Like, the Dodgers legitimately son the Padres. Just by existing, quite frankly.
series loss on the strikeout of Xander.
Oh! Oh!
The unsmatched.
Oh no! What kind of call was that? What the fuck? Angel, I thought you retired.
Turned Dansby and Nico into prime Ozzie Smith. They started fucking Yu Darvish in Game 3. They made Michael King only pitch 1 inning. They turned Tatis into a complete non-factor at the plate. They made Mike Schultz say fuck it and retire after this shit. Losers. Absolute fucking losers. You know how bad it has to be when I'm defending the Cubs? The right team won this series.
What type of question is that, dude? My guy. How do I assess this season? We just lost. How do you think I assess this season?
Sometimes overcoming adversity only leads to unspeakable pain. Necromancy for that god-awful September doesn't lead to power. It drives another stake into your hearts. The Mariners were an evenly matched opponent, honestly very similar to Detroit's, all the way down to hitting around the Mendoza line for the series. And there lies the Tigers' flaw. The bats went ice cold. Embarrassingly so. Look at how they hit with runners in scoring position. Derek Skubal was dealing, yet they squandered his starts in the end. That alone should have signified doom, but this team had resolve. I got Game 4's furious comeback proved that. Yet it never felt like it was enough. There were plenty of opportunities in Game 5. Could have punched the city in the dick yet again, but sadly can't do much to convert when Kerry Carpenter's the only man consistently hitting the ball. Trading blow for blow with their adversary, but what happened in the end was simply baseball. Agony, thy name is Jorge Polanco. Even then, the gritty takes went a hell of a lot further than I thought. They took the Mariners to the brink of death. Someone unfortunately just had to lose, but they should have no shame whatsoever. And for that, I tip my hat to a team that fought to the bitter end.
Damn right.
But seriously, get some more goddamn hitting. With their loss, America wins. It was a Canadian team doing the winning, but with the Bronx's reputation and their fans, this is something most of us can relish in. This series wasn't all that close. Straight up belt to ass.
Yes, sir.
A most thorough beatdown north of the border, which took the wind out of their sails from the get-go. What was revealed? The Yankees are an unbelievably flawed team. Buck Martinez's words rang true. New York is god-awful in the field and god-awful on the base paths. It cost them repeatedly. Tell me, does a pitching ERA hovering around 9 translate to success? They have power, but when they keep swinging for the fences, it's a boat race they can't win. Also, you gotta love Jazz Chisholm talking the game he did only delay a gigantic egg all series. Like the bases loaded in the 7th of Game 4, the pinstripe swung at the first pitch they saw for an easy flight. Once again, nothing will change and the same shit will happen next year. But look on the bright side. Aaron Judge overcame the narratives.
Oh! Not Aaron Judge. Bro, David Ortiz was clowning and frying the Yankees up with A-Rod and Jeter next to him. Happiest man in the world.
He's a loser. He did lose.
Strictly north, huh? The only thing I'm tasting in Wisconsin is sweet revenge on a defecting manager. Even for one of their better seasons, the notable losers were cursed with injuries. The main cause of death? Lack of starting rotation depth. They needed Steele and Horton. Cade never played this postseason and it hurt them bad. If those two were healthy, we might have had a different outcome. Although with their hitting approach in this series, it was a choice. Didn't work in Milwaukee whatsoever. Hard to win when you get nothing from the bottom 5 spots in the lineup. And with the Brew Crew arms hurling fire for the most part, they were doomed. You can only have so many leadoff homers by Michael Busch before you have to add more coins to the machine. Now, I wouldn't be worried about their offseason and looming Kyle Tucker situation, but there's a part of me that fears that Tom Ricketts is going to be a cheap ass. He's warned about baseball economics in the past. This is the perfect time to add to a burgeoning roster and push again. Just have my doubts for now. And all they get is Wisconsin smugly owning them in another sport. Fly the L, Cubbies. This, like many, was not your year. Dear God! This was supposed to be the potential last dance for an 8.
Yeah, I think this was the Phillies' window closing. Bro, they flat out blew it. Schwarber's not getting any younger. Bryce Harper's not getting any younger. This Trey Turner, they're not getting younger. Did not capitalize.
Core, and the only reward was maximizing pain. Seriously, all the Phillies did was find increasingly agonizing ways to lose baseball games. The Dodgers were beatable, yet Philly honestly found ways to somehow crush themselves. Game 1 bullpen botch with David Robertson, taken yard for a 3-run shot by Teoscar. Game 2 with a flat Guerrero hit by Castellanos, spun him over, while keeping him as a base runner. The obvious results happened. Bell was not going dog, and if that isn't happening with consistency, the Phillies are doomed. Then came Game 4. Oh God, Game 4. Donnie Moore, Bill Buckner, Orion Kerkery.
Oh, this was just brutal.
Gotta find it. Throws to the plate. Oh my goodness. He throws it away. And the Dodgers have won.
There's legitimately nothing I can say that will make this situation worse. That man's in a level of hell that every ball player fears. He panicked and threw the game away when the lights were brightest.
That just sucks. That just freaking sucks. There is no way. No way. I'm not saying it's impossible to recover from that, but boy. Woo.
It symbolizes Philly's window as a whole. One that may be slamming shut faster than they'd like. Good luck trying to sign Schwarber, Real Muto, and Suarez, Philadelphia. If you fail, you can complain about the fans like Castellanos did. What do you even say? To have the greatest moments in decades. Memories that will forever be etched in stone just to suffer a loss that may devastate you for just as long. It was all there. The 2-0 series lead in Toronto that got squandered. The Game 5 heroics with Eugenio etching his name alongside Edgar and Jorge in Seattle lore. A chance to finish Toronto off at a Canadian funeral. And they just couldn't do it. Game 6 was a punch in the mouth. Then Game 7, a 3-1 lead stifling their bats and only 9 outs from the promised land. Vanished
George
into
Springer
dust
happened.
and shadow.
High fly ball. Left field. A Rosarina.
Of course, it's against the guy that M's fans booed when he got injured. And see, karma finds people in sports and in life. But I've got to say, growing up, I'm a Cardinals fan, but my American League team was always the Seattle Mariners. And a quick shout out to Secret Base for their incredible documentary on the Mariners. Just type it. Literally, I want you to just YouTube search Secret Base Mariners. Watch the entire thing. It's worth all of your time. You'll cry, and by the end of it, if you're not a Mariners fan, you may become one. I'm very much cool on Toronto, but this made me want to puke. This game made me want to puke. Also, shout out to my boy at Lewis Knows Tunes, big Blue Jays fan. Congrats to them and him for getting to this spot. But boy, Seattle deserves better.
Watches it go.
The ultimate dick punch. A chance at securing what was thought impossible, snagged away with one swing of the bat. You can argue that Wilson should have pulled Wu before the start of the inning or subbed in Munoz instead of Bizardo, but it's a hindsight question. Seattle simply lost, and that's the most painful realization of them all. The Mariners were toom boom bust with their bats and unable to stop the Chase hitting machine most times. Toronto was superior, and in the end, there's only pain.
Having gone this further than any other team in franchise history.
So you like flying L's, eh? You won your World Series, and the reward...
Meanwhile, these dudes gave up. I have been convinced after watching the NLCS that the Brewers flat out did not believe they could beat the Dodgers, and they played like they did not believe in themselves. You'll see. That is exactly what I believe. How do you win the most games in Major League Baseball and just give up in the playoffs?
This being slapped back to reality as an irrelevant franchise come October. Milwaukee meet Buzzsaw. It's gonna rip you limb from limb, starting from the extremities and moving up towards the head until sweet embrace of death. LA dominated with their starting rotation.
This is the second
Excellence
time
rivaling Cooperstown itself.
that the Dodgers
The Bats
have
had no
beaten the Brewers in
response,
the NLCS
no
in the last 6
pushback,
years.
no pulse, only setting records for ineptitude. They were hitting
70s.
just over 100 in the first 3 games. The average weighted runs created is 100. The Brewers were in the negatives. I didn't even know that was possible. How the hell are you making the 2019 Cardinals look potent? A healthy Trio and Woodruff in the rotation weren't doing shit. All you'll experience is Shohei driving the dagger into your throat with the greatest postseason performance baseball's ever seen. It's obvious Milwaukee doesn't have anything close to enough and the October narratives remain. So what's the obvious move to make? Potentially trade away Freddie Peralta. What a fucking joke, man. If you still have faith in this franchise, you're a damn fool. Welcome to chaos. Playoff baseball doesn't care how you started, what momentum you had coming in, what talents you boast, what adversity or setbacks you endure. It only cares for one thing. Can you rise to the occasion? Heartbreak delivered for 10 teams, but 2 still remain in the fold. And from the American League, it's rather unexpected.
A part of me says it is, and a part of me says it's not when you see that the Dodgers won less games than Toronto did. But at the time, going in, do you believe that Toronto can win the World Series? Leave comments down below. Who do you got?
Unrealized potential. That was Toronto over these past few years.
Definitely.
An incredibly talented core, but there was always a roadblock or 6 preventing them from realizing it. Vlad Jr. talked about a movie in 2022. It went from gripping action to a comedy with that utter implosion to Seattle. The sequel in 2023 led to Minnesota's glory. Thank you, John Schneider, for your incompetence. And 2024 was just disaster disguised as a baseball campaign. Everything cratering in on itself in the fires of a seemingly dying window. And it was predictable for how little they did over the offseason. Coming into 2025, it was their lowest point in a supposed powerhouse. Their offseason moves were once again things that came up short, with baffling buys that looked rough on the surface. Vlad Jr. and Bichette were free agents to be, and contract talks were going nowhere. We were wondering where Vlad was going to be after the deadline, for God's sake. Struggling out of the gate well below 500 into May, it wasn't if they cut off heads, it was how many would fall. Sometimes you need to hit rock bottom to find that epiphany. Ever since that point, the Jays have been playing with fire, finally reaching the potential that had been teased but never consistently reached. In a cutthroat AL East, they not only snagged the division from mated pinstripes, they ripped their heart out in the ALDS. That was merely the appetizer. Pulverizing the endless hope Seattle had was a pleasure that few get to partake in. And they've done this without Bichette or Barrios. There's a chance Bo could come back for this series, but he's not the main attraction anymore. That's Vlad Jr. From doubts to determination. Toronto wisened up and paid him what he desired, and that spending has been rewarded with a postseason worthy of song. Following him is the infamous George Springer. Last year was alarming regression. This season was a phoenix rising from the ashes. Not to mention having his own Joey Bats moment registering on the Richter scale. It also comes from the eternally stout everyman Alejandro Kirk behind the backstop. But most of it's from unsung sources. Ernie Clement went from waiver hot potato to a legitimate core piece of the lineup, a defensive wizard and contact machine. Andres Jimenez shaking off a rough season to shine in October. Addison Barger emerging from the farm to secure the hot corner as a J. The dynamite fielding prowess of Dalton Varsho and Miles Straw snagging balls left and right. And securing a corner spot, 30-year-old minor league journeyman Nathan Lucas. Yeah, Anthony Santander's been a dud so far. He's on the playoff roster, but yeah. Also, Tyler Heineman is backup catcher extraordinaire. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa on his second tour of duty as the super utility wunderkind of the roster. Not him, that can also go to Davis Schneider. Their starting rotation has had to be worked on in piecemeal. But without Barrios, they haven't skipped much of a beat. When you have Kevin Gossman to rely upon, that top-flight arm isn't much of a downgrade. The Yankees have their Cam Schlittler. Well, Toronto has their own hot prospect in Trey Savage. 3 starts in the regular season. Couldn't tell with how he mowed down pinstripes. Out of Cleveland comes former franchise face Shane Bieber. This is why they brought him in, to solidify the rotation in times like these. Shit, even the immortal Max Scherzer's made an appearance.
Holy
He's
crap.
far from what he was, but he can still do a job if needed. Their bullpen has a few key faces. First is Minnesota fireman Louis Varland. Batiste nuking is Toronto benefiting from his services. Sir Anthony Dominguez and Mason Fluharty have been called into duty often. Same as Braden Fisher, Chris Bassett, and Eric Lauer. Then comes Jeff Hoffman. He was a mess this season, a gas can through and through. But in October, he's back to his elite Philly form. and it's led them to this moment. Just no Brandon Little, please. John Schneider nearly ran the postseason into the ground, but he was saved from his own doing. The Jays don't just have their own ambitions, they have the hopes of an entire nation on their shoulders. Over 30 years since the Jays have tasted the sweet metallic aftertaste of the Commissioner's Trophy. They honestly remind me a lot of the 2019 Nationals. All the way down to the struggle bus start surging after 2 months in the doldrums and silencing all doubts with an elite run to the championship. I don't know if they have the rotation that team did, but they can finish the deed. Will they though? Well, they are strong, their adversary's Goliath. If you were to ask anyone who followed baseball back in February, they had one answer as to who would win the World Series this year. The Dodgers. And it was understandable as to why. Take a dominating, uncontested World Series champion and add even more greatness to it. Their offseason splurge had ripple effects throughout baseball. All the names, all the star power, all the deferred money decades in the future. Cries throughout baseball were relentless as Dodger Blue lived rent-free in their heads. This is why you play the games. Their road here has been anything but smooth. A huge chunk of their free agent class have been outright disasters. Conforto, Scott, and Yates haven't played at all this postseason. Sasaki and Snell were hurt for months at a time. And the team as a whole struggled for their standard. They nearly blew the division to the fucking Padres back in August. We thought the nightmare was over. Little did we know they found great form again once the lights burned bright again. Cincinnati stood no chance. The last breath of Philadelphia was watching LA strangle them to death. Milwaukee, like a fly on their shoulder, swatted away. Unlike the Brewers, they hit the insect with authority. A huge chunk of their lineup needs no introduction. Men destined for Cooperstown in nearly every nook and cranny. The best of the best. And it starts with Shohei. The king's ransom they paid him was for one singular goal. Win. And often. With one game alone, he's more than earned that bounty in the 2040s. We've had amazing pitching performances. We've had great feats of hitting. We haven't had both by the same player in the same game. One that'll be talked about for generations. Same goes for Mookie, a man who's fit at shortstop like a well-worn glove. A pure natural with a premium stick for the position despite his mid-season struggles. You tend to forget they have a future Hall of Famer in Freddie Freeman, one of the best pure hitters in the game, kicking ass with his bat in the process.
Sir.
Will Smith is arguably a top 5 catcher in baseball right now, and his offensive production proves it. Tommy Edman, Miguel Rojas, and Hai-Sung Kim rotate throughout the middle infield as solid pieces. Max Muncy's been here a while and offers legit mid-lineup pop. Andy Pages has struggled at the plate this October, but the glove is as strong as ever. Teoscar is simply Teoscar, a power bat for a power team. And Kike, he ups his game in the postseason like it's clockwork. Same as Ben Rortvedt and Alex Cole as backups, apparently. Sounds about right. The real prizes, however, are in their rotation. Blake Snell has been everything they dreamed of as well.
And let us not forget that Clayton Kershaw is on this World Series roster. He is retiring after the World Series. Now, I hope you noticed on Toronto's side that Max Scherzer is on the Blue Jays roster for the World Series. Scherzer and Kershaw made their major league debut starts against one another as rookies when the Diamondbacks played the Dodgers. I believe that was 2007 or 8. How's that for poetry? Amazing. How do you not be romantic about baseball?
He's LA's answer to 2014 Mad Bum. Domination on the mound. Hitters don't have a damn chance against him. If you miss Blake, it's Yoshinobu Yamamoto. He only had a complete game in the NLCS and is also besting hitters at every opportunity. Nothing that crazy. After him's Tyler Glasnow. He's their number 3. Just goes to show you how loaded that core is. And there's also that Shohei guy making starts. You might have heard of him too. The bullpen though? Different story. It's been a disaster all year, and they've had to rebuild it on the fly. To headline their crew, it's an unexpected name. Roki Sasaki. He's fit well as their closer so far. Not the long-term plan for him, but it works for the time being. Alex Vesia has been their first lefty out of the pen. Blake Treinen's still hanging around with a fine role as well. The ERA's deceiving, his FIP tells a much different story. Everything else? Well, there's Clayton Kershaw. His playoff form reemerged in his one appearance, but it's more about the feels for him with his last drive. There are a lot of unique plot lines with this series. It's doubly ironic since Toronto was sentenced to the cuck chair by LA these past few off-seasons. Remember Shohei's plane ride to Toronto that didn't happen? The Roki Sasaki sweepstakes? The Blue Jays were second best for those prizes each time. They want blood. It's strength against strength. One of the most potent hitting cores in baseball against a starting rotation that dreams are made of. A heavyweight bout where they'll both come out swinging. But for a winner, that's for fate to decide. I'm gonna be honest here, I can see this going either way. It's not gonna be set in stone like many believe. Everyone assumes the Dodgers are gonna mow them down, but the Jays ain't the best rotation and pen in the AL alive in the ALCS, humiliated the Yankees and might do the same here. As I said, they're giving me those 2019 Nationals vibes. Team of destiny shit. This is either gonna be the Dodgers winning quickly and brutally or the Jays are winning in 7. I'd honestly be surprised if there's any other outcome here. That being said, I'm picking Toronto. Just have a hunch it's Toronto in 7. At least too obvious of a pick. Am I just overthinking it? Am I jinxing? Or is it the reverse? The hell knows?
I'll tell you, before this season started, they said the Dodgers are ruining baseball. Let's get 4 more wins and really ruin baseball. Let's go!
Alright, be like that, Dave Roberts. So, I honestly am picking Toronto to win as well. Gut feeling. Plus, seeing Vlad Jr. in tears, saying that he wanted to bring a World Series ring to his dad, of course, Hall of Famer Vladimir Guerrero Sr., that hits you in the nostalgia feels if you grew up watching Vlad Sr. for the Expos and the Angels, bro. Couldn't be a better time. We're going to get this thing rolling tonight, first pitch in Toronto. I don't remember the last time that the World Series home field advantage was held by the American League. I swear. But nonetheless, Game 1 tonight, Blue Jays, Dodgers. Let me know who you got in the comment section below. I want to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.